it's recording.
I'm probably.
It just
really?
doesn't- Yeah, it just doesn't.
I'm probably gonna be so awkward just knowing that I'm being recorded.
Take some deep breaths.
I'm just gonna sit here smiling all weird. All right.
Celine, so nice to see you.
Thank you for meeting with me.
What would you like to talk about today? And could I just... Okay. Celine, so nice to see you today.
Thank you for meeting with me.
What would you like to talk about today?
So lately, my husband and I have been talking about our plan for the next year, couple years. We have stuff locked down for this year. He's a teacher in Camrose, so we'll be there. But it's just a 1-year contract, and we don't want to live there forever anyways. So I'm just kind of feeling a little up in the air about that, and I just want to have some strategies for planning ahead and staying away from stress.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned strategies. Would you mind if we started with just talking more about this idea of being locked down and up in the air? Can we start there?
Yes, that sounds
fantastic. Celine, the word, when you talk about being locked down, what does that mean to you?
I think, especially with my husband's job, because it's kind of on a year-by-year basis, we really have to commit to like a full 10 months ahead of time. So that seems like a really long ways away by the end of that 10 months. So once he's found his contract, once he's signed for the year, then I just feel like, okay, we're stuck here. I have to make the most of it, which isn't the best, maybe, way to think about things. So yeah, that's what the lockdown feeling is. Just limited mobility, I guess.
Let me just clarify. When does the contract actually get signed?
It's signed now.
It's signed.
So
now.
it was signed in June, at the end of June, for September, and it was very quick. He had to sign it. They wanted him to sign it within the day when it was offered. So not a lot of planning ahead available to us for this year. Yeah.
I'm hearing two sides, Celine. I'm hearing this idea of lockdown, stuck, and up in the air. So
Which don't really go together.
Right. Tell me more about that.
So I guess it's kind of up in the air because it's only for a year. Whereas in the long term, we want to be able to settle down somewhere, but we don't know where that is yet. We just know it's not where we're locked down right now. So that's where that comes from. Yeah, it's hard to plan ahead when we know that we're here for a year, but we can't really do anything besides that. Just the way that things work with school districts, it's a year-by-year thing. They don't really do the planning ahead thing. What would you rather have if you didn't have this lockdown or stuck feeling? And you talked about mobility. What would be the ideal situation for you? Well, ideally, still considering my husband's job, would be, I guess, next year, if he was able to get a continuous contract somewhere. So then he's still in a contract, but it's somewhere that we choose and it's somewhere we're happy with and committed to. So I'm fine with committing to some place, but I want it to be where we decide, not where the job landed. It sounds like then you're struggling, or struggling might be too strong. It sounds like you're questioning whether the place where you're living right now is your end destination. Yes, exactly. Okay. And what for you makes that not feel like the end place? My job there isn't really, I was first working just casually coaching gymnastics, which is good, but it's not my end job. And I just got another job doing as a research coordinator, but it's not something I'm like super excited about. And it took a while to get that. And it was kind of just, here's a job, I'll take it. So it's not like I put down roots there. So I guess that's part of the problem. Can I clarify, is it your sense that your husband has put roots down? We have discussed before that
because my schooling is online and everything, I have more freedom to move around where he needs to go. So that we've kind of had the agreement that we'll move wherever he needs to go and it'll be fine for a few years. So we're still in that, which I'm fine with. But I also know that he doesn't want to be at the school forever. So I guess just knowing that we're kind of floating along and neither one of us are ready to settle down here.
I wonder, Celine, if we can go back to that idea then. You've talked about mobility and it seems that you value that idea to be mobile. I still keep coming back to that idea that you feel a bit stuck and perhaps entrapped or trapped, not in an ideal situation. And I'm wondering what you make of that, difference between I want to be mobile, I feel trapped, I want to be settled, I don't want to be up in the air. Is there anything when we talk about that comes up for you?
Knowing that it's not that I'm going to want to keep moving around, that it's not that, it's just being told when I can't move is kind of the issue.
Okay.
Yeah, which I do know that's just how it is with my husband's job, which is fine. But yeah, I'd like to be living in a place where I know I can stay for a while because we have moved around a lot just with going to university and getting into our first jobs and that kind of thing. So it'd be nice to not have to worry about that anymore, moving from place to place.
I'm wondering, do you want me to just carry on, or do you want me to pause?
If that's good for you, that works.
Okay.
Yeah, because then we'll all keep using the same stuff for the next assignment, so we can just.
Do you want me to carry on? So let me just grab some. Are you okay? Was that comfortable?
Yeah, that's fine.
Celine, is it helpful?
It is.
Talking about your.
It's more an annoying situation.
Okay, just let me orient myself here for 1 second, Celine. Okay.
Go for it. And we can always work on that other part next week too, if it's too soon.
Okay, well,
whatever you think.
Let's give it a shot since we're in the midst of it anyway. So I'm just going to begin as if we were starting a second session.
Okay.
So, Celine, nice to see you again.
You too.
Last week we were talking a little bit about how you were feeling about your husband's contract, staying in Camrose, you described feeling a little bit stuck, wanting some mobility. And by the end of our time together, it seemed that one of the challenges for you was really not wanting to be told where you had to live or told where you needed to be. So that, and we promised that we would uncover that a little bit more today. Is that still where you'd like to go?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. I'm wondering if we can, because we just ended on that note last week, if we can pick up there again, and if you can start to tell me more about this feeling that you don't want to be dictated to or told where you need to live and stay. Let's start there and tell me your insights from the week.
So since last session, we've just kind of been hanging out at home, talking to the neighbors, and I was feeling a little bit better about our location for now because I'm a little more comfortable with the people there and everything. So that's good. But just when I think of the long-term situation, that's when I start to worry that we're stuck here for a year and can't figure out anything after that. And where are we going to live next year? We'll have to restart, basically.
Celine, sometimes it can be helpful to rate how you're feeling about these situations. And I'm thinking, you mentioned that you felt a little bit better after connecting with some neighbors. If you sort of go back and rewind to 2 weeks ago, even before we started meeting, if you were to put on a scale from 0 to 10, how I'll use the word distressing, but maybe we can talk about that word. 0 being no distress, 10 being the most distressed you are about this situation. I'm wondering where you would put yourself. But first, is that word distress? It might be too strong.
It's a little bit strong.
What would you say?
Maybe anxious. We can use anxious.
Okay, so
Yeah.
0 being no anxiety about this, no anxiousness, and 10 being the most anxious you've ever felt about a situation. Where would this land 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. I'd say let's say a 5.
Okay. And then this past week, you had some opportunity to connect with neighbors. The issue's still present, but where would you put yourself on that 0 to 10 scale? What do you say?
I'll say a 3.5, 4 maybe.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's went down a
lower.
little bit.
Lower. Okay.
Yeah.
And if let's talk a little bit about the impact that building those relationships had, and what would you say were the ingredients, or what was it about connecting with those neighbors that made a difference for you to drop it?
So the neighbors on both sides of where we live are really nice. A couple on each side. They're older. They were just really friendly and offering help if we need it, which that was nice. We had moved from Edmonton previously and didn't have that kind of relationship with our neighbors, so it was nice to have that on both sides. So just their willingness, I guess, to connect with us and to be willing to make relationships with us further in the future was nice, because then I can kind of see how the year will unfold, I guess.
Was there anything that you did differently to encourage that relationship or to make a difference in it?
Not really. We were just outside in the backyard and the neighbors came up to the fence and we just kind of talked over the fence. Whereas in Edmonton, we didn't even see our neighbors, really. They never came outside. They just kind of kept to themselves. So it might just be the location and just how people are in this in Camrose. So yeah, I feel like I would have been willing, but it's nice to have someone else that's also willing.
You mentioned that the conversation with the neighbors, that interaction, gave you a sense that, this could go on over the next year. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I could just see us having occasional talks when we're hanging out in the backyard, or maybe we could befriend them, go over for drinks, dinner, that kind of thing. So then now I know more people in the city. So I guess that's kind of the base of it. It's just knowing the people and being comfortable there.
It's interesting when you talk about that, the neighbors and the possibility of going forward with them, you become more animated with your hands and your eyes light up and you're more full of expression. So tell me what you're feeling in that moment, this moment.
They're so nice. So yeah, I'm just excited to get to know more about them and meeting new people that I actually do connect with is just kind of exciting instead of just having to deal with the people around us that are just occupying the same space.
So it sounds like that you value connection. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I guess that's probably my biggest worry with moving around or needing to leave wherever we're at, is that I'm gonna have to leave old connections and make new ones because those people can't come with me. So yeah, especially with doing an online program, I'm already isolated-ish from my classmates, whereas I don't get to see them in person. So I need that face-to-face contact in other ways. So yeah, I have it with my husband, obviously, who when he comes home from work, but I like to get that in other ways.
Right. So what I'm taking from our conversation so far then is that you're feeling a bit more connected since meeting the neighbors. you can see some benefit over the next year, but you're still concerned about disconnecting with those relationships and building new ones. And I'm wondering if you can describe that challenge for you a little bit more, this idea of always connecting and having to make new connections, and what that's like for you.
So I guess a really good example is in university. I had friends in my program, and we did a lot of stuff together and hung out because we saw each other a lot during school. But after we graduated, we kind of just dispersed, and just those relationships kind of just fell away. Just we were in different places, which is fine. But and then the same thing sort of happened when I was working in Edmonton. I just made friends with people I was working with because I saw them all the time. When I moved to Camrose, we just kind of fell away again. So that might just be my friendship style, is to just make friends conveniently. But yeah, it's just kind of exhausting to have to do it over and over again.
It's exhausting. Celine, what I'm hearing too, in the midst of all this, is that actually you're very good at making friends and creating solid friendships. That's a real skill.
Yeah. I haven't had problems with the initial connections with people at all. I think I just don't really put in the work to maintain them after, but when you have done it a few times, it kind of gets to be a lot anyways. So yeah, especially with some of the people where I made friends in a certain point in my life, now it's just we don't have much in common. So yeah.
So you mentioned that you don't put work into these relationships, but then you also talked about but we don't have much more in common. So tell me more about your idea that you don't put work into the relationship.
I think I just stopped putting work into it once there's physical distance between us. Because like driving up to Edmonton or wherever or further just takes a lot of time to go and see someone, especially when we have to line up our schedules and whatnot. And I found sometimes if I'm meeting up with an old friend from work or whatever it is, that once I'm no longer there, a lot of our conversation pieces are just absent because I don't know what's going on anymore. And so maybe we kind of just connected over the work stuff and we weren't as close in other aspects of life. So it just doesn't make for an enduring friendship.
Right. So this sounds a bit different, meeting these neighbors.
Yeah, kind of. Yes, because we're connecting on like our personal lives because that's where they're situated. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, you've mentioned that I can tell from your discussion that you've got great skills in relating to people and in creating friendships and making friendships. Is there, can you envision that this relationship with your neighbors on either side, for example, might be different going forward, even if you had to move?
I'm not sure because it is different because they're an older couple. They're like kind of like my parents' age, like on both sides. So, and that might be a thing too because my parents are snowbirds, so they're only here for 6 months and they go away for 6 months. So maybe I just like that connection with the older adults, like when my parents aren't here. So it might just be kind of filling another need for right now, which, yeah, I'm enjoying it for now. So I don't know how it would be in the future. It might be like a Christmas card sort of thing once we move away, but that'd be all right too.
So Celine, if you could take a crystal ball, look into it, and your future would all of a sudden materialize in this crystal ball, what would that look like for you? We've talked about a few different things, and I want to tie it together in what you would like to see if you could have anything you wanted 1 year from now when your husband's contract was done, looking into that ball. What would that look like, considering the issues we've talked about, mobility and friendships and keeping friendships and whatnot? What would that look like? What would be ideal for you?
All right, so if it's a year ahead and we're in July, So Colton and I would probably be getting ready to move to his new, hopefully continuous contract. So we'd be setting ourselves up for at least a few years there, I would think. And some of the friends I do have in Camrose are from university from before we had moved to Edmonton. So when we were living in Edmonton, we weren't very close, but when we came back and everyone was still living in Camrose, we became closer. So just keeping in contact with those people, because I know that I was able to come back and I guess refresh those connections, even though we hadn't really been talking much while we were away. So just keeping those contacts, even if we're not seeing each other all the time, maybe just emailing, or if we visit Camrose, then we can get together for lunch or something like that. Yeah, still knowing those people, even if it's not, even if we're not talking all the time.
Okay. And what would that, so not talking all the time, but what for you would be the most enriching form of relationship in that case?
With those people?
Yeah.
I guess just keeping up those commonalities, common points of connection that we've had. So whether it's similar jobs or something like that, just keeping each other updated on that, or activities that we like to do. Maybe we could try like once a year or something to go hiking or something like that we both enjoy. That kind of thing. Just keeping up in those ways that are kind of mutually beneficial for each other.
And let me introduce that scaling idea, question in again. If you were to rank 0 to 10, 10 being the most satisfied with relationships you've ever been, and 0 being the least satisfied, where would you put that arrangement on that scale?
I'd be quite satisfied. I don't, knowing in the future if they're long-term, or if they're long-distance friendships, I'd probably put that at like an 8. Like I'd be happy with that, because I would know what to expect from them and they from me. So as long as we're on the same page, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. Have been in Camrose, but this